Hi, this is Bella McClintock.
This is Justin Fry.
And welcome back to episode 2 of the Students on Campus podcast. We're going to start with our first segment called What's Happening, and we're going to talk about this current week.
This past week of May 1st, there was a transfer support group via Zoom.
And the Philippine X Pacific Islander and South Asian high school students had an empowerment conference.
There was a De Anza flea market this past Saturday.
All right, on the upcoming week of May 8th, there are more transfer support group Zoom meetings on Mondays and Fridays at 2 to 3 p.m. There is a transfer admission planner workshop in person on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. in the Physical Sciences Village. UC Santa Cruz reps will be here on Thursday at 11 a.m. in the dining hall tabling, so go ask them for any questions you have about transferring. A new club on campus, the Women's Group, will be meeting in the Multicultural Center at 2 p.m. to come together in the community for this affirming, intersectional, female-identified peer discussion group. This group will involve giving and receiving support and facilitating empowerment as members engage in self-exploration, gain insights, and build connections. Later into this next coming week, we have more laser shows at the Fujitsu Planetarium, as well as registration for summer classes will be starting soon, so keep an eye out on your portal for when you'll be registering for summer quarter.
This week, the DASG internal elections are continuing. Weeks 1 and 2 are already completed.
The Measure G Shared Governance Task Force regarding the reallocation of the Art Squad has officially been assembled and has a meeting time.
For the Affordable Housing Task Force with Eric Reed and Patrick Aarons, the feasibility study has been completed, so there will be updates soon.
So this is our special guest segment of the podcast. This week we have Gina with us. Can you introduce yourself to the crowd?
Hello, my name is Gina. I go by any pronoun. And I've been a staff reporter for Levos for a couple years now. Yeah, I'm kind of a super sophomore, I guess you could say.
And what's your major?
My major is journalism.
All right, and how long have you been at De Anza?
I've been at De Anza since I was 18. I'm 22 years old now. So that's been like 4 years. On and off, failing some classes. I dropped out several times, came back, and well, now I'm here.
Alrighty.
So yeah.
We're excited to have you. So how did you hear about Levos?
I actually have always known about it since I was 18 because I've always kind of knew that I wanted to be a journalism major. So I knew that De Anza had like a really good journalism program. So ever since I started taking classes here, I wanted to join the newspaper. So yeah, I've always kind of known about it.
What keeps you passionate about continuing in journalism?
I would say that my main passion is to be nosy. And so I feel like journalism is kind of like a way in which I can like channel all my nosiness and this need to know everything. So yeah, it's like I will always be nosy and I will continue to pursue journalism.
So you're the editor of the news section here at Levos. How do you find out about what's going on campus, and how do you decide what you want to report on?
So usually I find out about events on campus through the De Anza website, and I also get some notifications from my advisor, and also on a FHDA level we also get like some they're like newsletters, so they tell us like what's happening. So like this week there's gonna be like the candidate thing, so they sent us like some emails about it. And
could you talk a little bit about the candidate thing real quick?
So Judy Minor, she's a former chancellor for the FUTIL De Anza Board of Trustees, but she's retiring. I think she's retiring, or she retired. She was supposed to retire last year, or she's retiring this year, I believe. So they're interviewing a couple people this week for like at 1 p.m. on Zoom. So I feel like that's an important event, so that's why I chose to like pitch it to people. Like people should know who their chancellor is.
What are some of the other news stories that you're reporting on right now, and what can you tell us about them?
Right now I'm reporting on COPA, and I'm also making a story about some budgeting issues that are going on in DASG.
Can you give us some more information about COPA and what's going on in the De Anza student government?
Okay, yeah. So COPA is the Actually, let me talk first about the DHG thing, because this has been going on for like a while. So the DHG situation right now is that DHG is basically funding for essential services at the ANSA. And this is basically leaving DHG with no funding for what the student government should be funding for. So like clubs, homecoming events, etc., etc., right? So we don't really. I think there's also like graduation. There were also like Latinx graduations, and I think last year they weren't able to fund for that, so there were no like Latinx graduation, no events like those, because the DAG is funding for example, is funding for the athletics department, is funding for tutorial services, is funding for mentors, is funding for foster youth, is funding for a lot of services that should be funded by the administration and on a more what's the word, like state level, I would say. Yeah, so I'm making a story about that, and like some of the problems with this.
When do you think that'll be out for our listeners to read?
Well, like some of the editors are editing it, so hopefully soon. Hopefully people will like be able to read about that and get more information about it, because it's very like important, I think. Yeah, so this issue specifically has been talked about since March of this year. So it's been about like a month now. This issue was first introduced to administrators by Amy and she has like a task force, but this issue is like an ongoing issue.
And can you elaborate a little bit more on COPA?
Oh yeah, so COPA is the Community Opportunity to Purchase program. What this program basically does is that if like somebody wants to sell their property, like eligible property, for COPA, they have to give qualified nonprofit organizations the right to make the first offer.
So what areas does this primarily affect?
Oh yeah, so this is mostly affects the areas of San Jose. And this is important for like DeAnza students, because most of the DeAnza students actually come from San Jose, and this is due to the fact that like Cupertino is very, very expensive and San Jose is relatively more affordable compared to Cupertino. And legislations, proposals like this will help make housing more affordable. However, it was denied on April 25th. So it was denied by the San Jose Council.
What do you think the ramifications of this are going to look like?
Well, so the thing is, like, the housing crisis is like pretty bad. And when I was at COPA, I got to talk to like some people that are facing housing insecurity, who have been displaced, who have been homeless. And let me just tell you the story of like this lady. Her name is Maria Chavez, and she's a mother of like 4 children, right? The youngest one is 3 years old. The oldest one is 16. And she shares a 1-bedroom apartment with her 4 children and her husband. She is not able to work because she has to take care of her like 3-year-old child. And they just cannot sustain themselves with with the income that her husband is making. So they're considering moving out of San Jose to Gilroy, right? Mm-hmm. And like this is obviously a tough situation. Like she says she doesn't want to move out of the city. She doesn't want to move away from her friends, from her family. So it's kind of like a tough situation for her and her family. And she has also been evicted in the past. She has lived in her car with her family. So situations like this is why like COPA is important, because COPA, what it tries to do is basically keep housing affordable in perpetuity. That's the point of it, for nonprofit organizations to have this opportunity to buy property and then give it to like people who need it the most at an affordable price forever.
What can our listeners do to help with COPA and its cause? How can we get involved?
Okay, so ways of getting involved are mostly, I would say, through nonprofit organizations that are supporting this initiative. So there are some nonprofit organizations in San Jose. One of them is called Somos Mayfair. Another one is called Amigos de Guadalupe. And another one is also called Hero Tent. So all of these like organizations are nonprofit organizations that focus on social justice and housing equality. So if you want to get involved in COPA and you want to propose it again, it would be like I think you could like reach out to these organizations and see how you can like get involved, yeah, and like what you need to do
to respond to students interested, or could students reach out to you?
So yeah, students can reach out to me, and I also have some information of community organizers from these organizations that I just talked about.
For the listeners, all of this information will be in the show notes. Check the description of the podcast and you will find all the information below.
Okay, so I just want to say one little thing. So for the ANSA students, there is a program. There's like a housing task force, and it's organized by the South Bay Community Land Trust. So if you guys want to get involved, reach out to me, and I'll give you the information of the person that is organizing this, and you guys can get in contact with them through me.
Thank you so much, Gina, for joining us on our podcast.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. I love talking. So this was a great opportunity for me. So thank you, Justine and Bella.
Okay, so this is our Q&A segment, and we have Autumn back with us on the podcast. Welcome back, Autumn.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So this is going to be a new segment where students can write in and ask questions, and Autumn can give advice. What's the email that students can send to ask questions, Autumn?
Yes, so you can contact us at lavose@fhda.edu at I think it was gmail.com. Yes.
That email will be linked in the show notes.
All right, so we've got some questions here for you, Autumn.
All right, I'm scared, but I'm
so we know you'll do great. So our first question is, how can I get involved on campus?
Get involved. Well, that's a big question, but I think the best way to get involved is to always find clubs. DeAnza has a load of clubs here that you can choose from. I think another way is to get involved with your village. You have your language arts, you have a bunch of other humanities and all those kinds of opportunities here at DeAnza, and you just have to take advantage of the opportunities that are there for you. I think I haven't done that myself since I've been here at DeAnza, so actually just going out and making friends, going to the villages, going to the clubs, talking to other students and friends and finding out what they're doing, but taking advantage of every opportunity that's here for you, because if you don't, you're gonna regret it. So
another question we have is, I don't have any friends on campus. Any advice on how to make them?
Wow, sounds like me when I first came here.
Me too.
I didn't know anybody when I came to DeAnza. I've been in Ohlone. So coming to DeAnza, it was kind of like, oh gosh, like what do I do? But I think you just have to put yourself out there, and that's the scariest part, but it's going to be rewarding. Afterwards, I think just, being true to yourself, it sounds like a cliche, but just not trying to be anybody that you're not, and just saying, just talking to people, finding a common interest with someone is like the easiest way to get started, and just say, let me get your Instagram handle. I'm not weird. I just want to hang out, and and finding a common interest, or maybe you have a group project. That's the best way to start talking to people. I'm friends with Bella and Justin now, so hey. Yeah.
One final question we have is, I have not been to the DeAnza campus yet, but I am a new student online. How should I get involved with on-campus events?
Sure. Well, in-person classes are the best way to just start, involving yourself on campus. But if you're taking like asynchronous classes, or just taking Zoom classes, I'd say maybe start bringing your laptop here to campus and just having your classes here. You can meet people in the library. You can meet people while you're in the cafeteria, and maybe you'll find someone, that has the same classes as you. You never know. But definitely, I'd say, take advantage of those online classes, but also start coming back on campus for in-person classes, because they're more, they're worthwhile to take. You get to have those in-person connections, find friends, and also have connections with your professors, which is really important when you're taking classes, because you don't get that hands-on experience. It's not the same when you're doing it online.
To add on to that, unfortunately, we just had Club Day, but a great way to find people and clubs is going to Club Day, or you could look at the Interclub Council website where they have a full list of clubs on campus, and I'm sure that you will find something which sparks your interest, or at least something that'll push you outside of your comfort zone and you can give a shot.
All right, thank you, Autumn, and we'll see you next week for our Q&A section. Make sure you guys write in so we can answer some of your questions here on the podcast.
Alrighty, thank you guys.
And as always, for our outro, this is the Reach Out on Campus segment, where we remind you guys there are resources for students on campus. This includes the VTA Smart Pass and Clipper Card for all students, HEFOS through VITA, which has resources for all undocumented students. There's the Pride Center on campus with more LGBTQ+ resources in its location right behind the library. The Health Center on campus does offer psychological counseling and therapy, as well as the EPS, MPS, and LEE learning programs. And as always, come join Lavos. We would love to have you. This podcast was planned and written by Isabella McClintock. It was recorded by Isabella McClintock and Justin Fry at Lavos, and was edited and produced by Justin Fry.